All right, what's up, everybody? Hopefully, everybody's having a fantastic week. It's been slightly a choppy week. We did have a little bit of trend continuation this week as Bitcoin started to fall a little bit. Since then, for today, we've essentially bounced out of this area. This down here, you have the month of July's volume weighted average price. I want to go out to the larger time frames real quick just to kind of look around and see what we've got going on. So in terms of, sideways in this, we're still trading inside the last week of June, I guess you would say. No, it was the second to last week of June. You're still trading in that range. Last week was an inside week. Well, it was a trending candle. It took out that weekly low, but closed inside. This week, you're still inside. So you've done nothing much in terms of advancing the range, whether it be to the upside, to the downside. On the weekly time frame, obviously, structure is bearish as you are currently trading under the 200-week exponential moving average and very sideways. Dropping down to the daily time frame, you can see we recovered. We reclaimed the 21 exponential moving average, which is typically a good sign, or at least at the very least, we look at it as potential correction, and then we lost it yesterday. You had a minutes come out yesterday from the FOMC. Nothing much, just basically affirming what they said on the last Fed meeting that they had in the middle of June. Today's range, trading inside of yesterday's range, retesting the 21-day exponential. Yesterday's drop, you also took out the 50 on the RSI. If we look at the correlation coefficient to the dollar, you can see on the daily time frame, you are trading highly or really close to inversely correlated. On the 3-day, you're even more inversely correlated. And on the weekly time frame, you can see how the indicator is dropping, heading towards the 1 or the -1. That indicates that the weekly time frame is now starting to trade more inversely correlated to the dollar. So basically, if we're trading inversely correlated to the dollar, we got to go look at the dollar and see what it's doing. As of right now, with this current structure on the daily time frame, my bias would be bearish. I would be willing to look for shorts here or as high as yesterday's high. That's it. That's the last place that I would be looking for shorts. I already have these prices outlined here. We can drop down to the intraday real quick because I definitely want to make sure you guys understand what I'm looking for today when the bell rings, and then I'll go on to discuss more in depth of what I'm looking at here. But anyways, as you can see, you're an inside day. You're under the 21, or you're currently testing that. Today, the entire daily range would be classified as a 21 retest. All right. Basically, right there is, essentially where resistance is. If you drop down to the 4-hour, you can see that very clear. You traded up here on 1 4-hour pop. So far, the last 8 hours, you've been chopping up in a very tight, narrow range. Clearly, this looks more bullish on the small time frames. So a lot of people are probably trying to buy the lows here, anticipating a breakout. You very well could get a breakout. However, I am more leaning to looking for the downside today. So if we can fail here, then I would be willing to put on a short there. We have an issue, though, where you kind of probably could try an entry at 4-hour res if you see the 5-minute chart failing to close above that level. So basically you would just outline that level, drop down into the 5-minute chart, and you would watch the very small time frames, and you basically wouldn't want to see candles closing above this level. And in that scenario, I would be willing to bring that risk down from up here to here. But I would do it with a smaller risk, not the full size position. You don't want to eat a full loss if Bitcoin wants to spike above high of day. If it wants to spike above high of day before rolling over, then of course you would eat a loss here. So we drop our risk down, smaller position size, take a smaller loss. That way, if we try another entry up here, then if it's right, that trade will go on to make way more money than we lost on the first initial entry opportunity. I break my day trades down into 3 pieces. Essentially, I'm risking $100 to make $300. But I break the risk down to where I lose $30 per trade. That gives me 3 opportunities to take a trade with a directional bias. Since my directional bias for the day would be down, I would essentially be looking for only shorts and only here or here. All right. So that's what I'm looking for. Taking shorts under these levels will obviously be a lot more risky. You've got 23 minutes until the bell. Let's go take a look at the dollar, see if we can get any better idea as to what it's looking to do. Coming out to the dollar, since Bitcoin is trading inversely correlated to the dollar, whatever bias we would have on the dollar, we would have an opposite bias on Bitcoin. So far, this is your weekly range on the DXY. This was your weekly low. This was your weekly high. I believe that range was set on Monday. We can go verify real quick. No, excuse me. That range was set on Tuesday. So essentially Monday, that's going to be your weekly open right there. Since it closed as a red candle, we are trading above this. So currently we are bullish on the weekly range. We set a weekly low or a fresh weekly low twice this week. This was the first fresh week low, second week low. Both times you could not get trend continuation beyond or lower than the weekly open. So that tells me, at least on the very near term, pressure is to the upside. As you can see here, there was that bounce, and so far you are trading inside the last 8-hour session. So this is our trading range. It's kind of hard to have a bullish bias on it when you're seeing a clear rejection from the previous 8-hour open right now. But we're a clean 30 minutes from the New York bell, or 20 minutes. So this candle is essentially going to tell us nothing. It's going to be the next candle wherever it opens and then goes. That's going to kind of lead us into what we're doing with Bitcoin. Can't trade the dollar directly. There are other ways to trade it: euro dollar, pound dollar, Aussie dollar. I'll leave that up to you if you want to take a trade on the dollar. I am currently positioned long on longer term dollar longs. I'm holding dollar longs from down here and then also down here on 2 different pairs. I'm essentially short euro from this point, and I'm long dollar from this point on USD versus Swiss franc. I still have a long bias on the dollar. The macro backdrop is better off for dollar strength, in at least the way the Fed is kind of currently positioning themselves in terms of monetary policy. They are a little bit more hawkish. However, they have said that inflation is coming down. That's made the market pull back a little bit on dollar strength. We also have one outlier, one major outlier for dollar upside continuation. That is the BOJ, the Bank of Japan. They are currently trying to intervene by selling dollars to buy their own currency, which is the Japanese yen. So essentially, if they sell dollars and buy yen, then that would essentially wipe out the upside bid on the dollar. So that could initially cause a downtrend, or at the very least stop the dollar from going up for a few weeks. So they haven't intervened. They intervened once in April. I don't know what they're waiting on. They haven't really told us much. So just the threat of them intervening is what's causing this breakout on the dollar to essentially halt. So this would have been the breakout. This was actually the real breakout, but then this would have been your upside continuation. You can see as long as you're trading above these lows, then the threat is, in my opinion, to the upside. So I have to position like that. Since Bitcoin is heavily, inversely trading to the dollar right now, that means I'd be looking for Bitcoin shorts today. And that's kind of what we have. We were watching SpaceX yesterday. SpaceX did, in fact, liquidate or break down and made fresh all-time lows. But as you can see, it did not stay trending under those lows. Therefore, this was merely a liquidation. And now you're seeing prices rebound back to the upside. Is it possible that the sellers show back up? It is. Would I be anticipating that? Probably not, at least until you liquidate this level. We took a short yesterday here. That trade ultimately did work out, and it ultimately did end up giving us a profit-taking move. So you should have taken profits on that breakdown if you were short SpaceX yesterday. I had errands to run afternoon, so I was not around. Yesterday afternoon, I was essentially... It was a terrible day. I found out that my mother's truck had been towed. I had to go pay to get it out of impound and all this other nonsense. It ended up wiping out the entire day. So I was unable to come back and do anything with the trading account. But if you were trading afternoon yesterday, you should have absolutely taken profits with that breakdown right there. We never anticipate downside continuation, ever. If we get it, we'll take it, right? We love it. We're happy to get it. We always want to get it. However, we do not expect it. Therefore, we take profits if we get a breakdown. So that trade should be good. Most likely this morning, you're going to see this thing spike above 153.22, only because that's the next liquidation point. Once you liquidate that price, then the next liquidation point goes all the way up to 161.25. So you can see that basically if price is trading above 153.22, then the risk is up to 161.25, and therefore shorts above this blue line would not be a good idea, right? Or there's really no good objective level in here to mitigate risk from. So we would essentially just allow the liquidation to take place and then see if it fails to continue above that level, because that would be a sign that this is merely just a liquidation and it probably does want to head lower. So the major price to watch, 153.22, we can short from there, but only there. All right. And that looks like that's about to take place here any minute. So I would definitely wait for that. And then also, just shorting down here may not be a good idea. A lot of people like to buy range lows. So there could be a lot of upside pressure today. That is another reason why I would not be willing to short above 153.22, only at 153.22 or lower. And it would be a very, very aggressive, very risky short. It could work. I don't know. Nobody knows what price will do, ever. All right. We were also looking at Meta. Meta was going to be on the watch list today. You can see it is gapping down massively this morning. So any short side setups that we were watching for yesterday have been nullified, or I mean, I'm not going to short it now. That was the move we were looking for. And then Nvidia, we were watching a level for resistance. That level did not hold. This thing broke out strongly yesterday. This looks to me like it wants to continue higher. If Nvidia fails to trend above this white line, maybe I would be interested in a short. I don't have a very heavy short side bias on risk markets right now. So I'm probably not going to do anything with Nvidia today. And then Tesla is just inside. It's inside. It's been trading inside now for a couple of months. It's a very choppy, very range-bound trade. I don't see anything that I like for any setups here on Tesla. Period. I wouldn't trade it, essentially. Like, I don't have an edge here. Could it find support here? You do have a daily support at around 393. I mean, if it fails to trade under that point, maybe one could argue that it's finding resistance or support and one could get long, but I would only target gap fill. It's just not a very strong edge case. So I'm going to leave Tesla alone as well. Now, also, if we look at Bitcoin on the intraday stuff that we like to look at in terms of who is more aggressive today, sellers. Sellers are more aggressive today. So because Bitcoin has bounced, a lot of people are going to be bullish based on that fact alone. Because Bitcoin is trading under the VWAP for the week and currently under the week open for the week. If the sellers are more aggressive, we're looking for the short. In my opinion, that would be the high probable setup if using indicators to give us a signal is how we trade. So that's why I can only be short. But I mean, obviously I'm long Bitcoin long term. I believe Bitcoin will be much more expensive than this in the future. I'm just talking about for intraday scalps, like my intraday bias, looking for a 2% trade potentially on Bitcoin. I think that way that move would probably be lower. Now, I would love if the VIX was like up today and risk markets were also down. That would be good. We don't have that scenario. And another thing that I really don't love for Bitcoin shorts is you can see here on DVOL, this is the Durabit exchange. As far as I'm aware, they're the only crypto exchange that offers options against Bitcoin or the spot price of Bitcoin. And as you can see, volatility is down. It's currently trading under yesterday's low. So not only is it down, it's breaking down. Now, it doesn't mean that that trend will continue, but if that trend continues for today, then I don't think the short will work. But nonetheless, the bias is down. The sellers are more aggressive, at least as of this point in time. The sellers are more aggressive on the market orders. So that's the way we would be looking for Bitcoin to head. I only want to, like I said, I only want to see it liquidate the current high of day, which is here. I do not want to be trying to wait for this thing to get up to yesterday's high. However, if it were to get up to yesterday's high and fail, that would also be a potential short side setup. But like I said, I mean, you've lost the plot if you get all the way up there, in my opinion. It might be good for like a second half of the day trade, but it wouldn't be what I would anticipate happening for the New York session. What I would anticipate happening for the New York session is maybe you tag 4-hour res, or you liquidate the day high and then fail. If that happens, then I will absolutely put the short on. We trade real money, or I'm trading with real money. Been a kind of a slow week this week, mainly because the dollar is very sideways. When the dollar is very sideways, the only opportunities are going to be at week highs or at week lows, generally speaking. Since I was not awake when the dollar was trading down into those areas, obviously I was unable to participate in that opportunity. But I believe we'll have an opportunity today. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Hopefully everybody's having a better week than I am in terms of trading opportunities. Haven't been many, and of the best trades that did end up working out this week, like silver shorts was a good one, and then obviously SPCX offered up one phenomenal short side setup that we just missed, essentially. So I am still holding a small piece on that SPCX short, but it will be stopped out if it gets up above 153.22. I would be willing to reapply risk there, as I've already, like I said, got paid for that trade yesterday. I'm good to go, ready to do the same thing again today if it shows me that it wants to go lower. And we'll take those trades live. Currently, right now, the only two positions that I am in are a Bitcoin long, as you can see here from last week, where we essentially bought during the NFP, non-farm payrolls on Thursday. That trade, we already took profits on it and all that, so this is just the leftover positioning. It is still open, which doesn't scream weakness to me. I mean, Bitcoin just isn't as weak as people think it is. I mean, it's down. Naturally, it's down. It's just there's not very aggressive selling taking place right now. I would argue that the lows could be in. I mean, obviously that you can say that all the time, but I will open a short. I have my leverage set up on Bitcoin as cross separated, so I can open full size positions wherever price is. I can be both long and short at the same time. I do not recommend that you do that. That is mostly going to be for experienced traders only. All right, for experienced traders only. Because you can get into a scenario where you will lose both sides of the position. But yeah, that's the Bitcoin, and then obviously the SPCX short. Like I said, we got that going on over here. Oh no, I did not get filled on a take profit. Never mind. Oh, I did. It looks like I didn't have a take profit set yesterday. I thought for sure that I read that alert on my phone. Oh well, it is what it is. Like I said, I'll be willing to short it again at the same price if it wants to fail there. That price is, like I said, 153.22. And that's it. That's all I got going on for right now. Not much of anything. So it would be nice to get into a position. Tuesday during the public live stream, we were looking for shorts on Fartcoin, and as you can see, it did not work out for us during the New York session. Instead, late that afternoon, price traded up, stopped out the short position that we had on, and then rolled over late session. That's always annoying. That will always be annoying. But unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do that will tell us that that is going to happen. At that point, I was already pretty much annoyed with the short side of Fartcoin because obviously it had not been working out at all and had already eaten a stop prior to Tuesday. So I was just done trading it if it didn't roll over for the New York session on Tuesday. And it didn't. It rolled over late session. But I was very adamant about being on the sell side of this because the sellers had been essentially trying to make it go lower all week. So it's just that games that price plays are impossible to predict or anticipate sometimes. Also, I don't do much trading after noon. I like to only spend about 3 to 4 hours in the morning looking at the market, looking for opportunities. None present itself or whatever, then I just do whatever I want to do for the second half of the day. I usually I'm not that aggressive. But I don't really see an opportunity here. As you can see, this morning, the sellers are not that aggressive. Liquidity is very thin right now. Volumes are very thin on Farcoin. There's not many people trading it. It used to be a lot better product to trade than it is right now. Now that makes sense because we're deep into a crypto bear market. So there just isn't much volume. If you start to see some of these things fly to the upside or to the downside, that would bring more volume in and then make these things better. So for now, we're going to focus on Bitcoin today and SPCX. Those are the only two setups that I really see that I really like. And in terms of the pound yen short, it did not work out. We did make a fresh weekly high on, or not pound yen, but pound dollar. So pound dollar is essentially broken out. It could still end up working as a short. It's just not been an easy one to be a part of. Basically, this is the level that we were watching, as that is last week's high. So as long as we're above last week's high, we don't want to look for shorts because it's currently breaking out and showing signs of strength. Signs of strength could lead to continuation. Continuation to the upside would not be very profitable for shorts. However, I still feel strongly that if this does in fact close under the weekly 21 exponential this week, I would still like it for lower prices next week. But because the dollar is sideways and choppy, so are a lot of assets that trade via or against the dollar. Next major objective level to look for potential trades at would be June's open. So can't do anything with it where it currently is, basically. I mean, if you wanted to be hyper aggressive, you could watch yesterday's high. But like I said, at this point, you're not really seeing anything on the chart to show you that the sellers are winning. It's exactly the opposite. Now, like I said, if the dollar rallies today, I do think this would break down. There's just no real opportunity here. Where would you enter the short? Where would your stop loss be? What would you target? All of that stuff comes into play. And I don't see anything here. Euro, same scenario. There's really not a clean short setup on it in terms of analyzing price and price alone. You're very sideways here. It's still bearish, and I like it lower. One could argue that this was just a liquidation. As long as it's trading under this daily high right here, I do like it for downside continuation. I think the problem that you currently have right now is you've got this really clean bottom side trend line. Retail probably looking at getting long here, or the upside trade on the dollar is so crowded right now. It almost seems as if though price probably needs to stop out a lot of very extended or these up close buyers. We'll see what happens with it. But I mean, it is taking its time to get going here on the breakout with the dollar. There's the bell. I don't want to lose this Bitcoin short, but I can't chase it down either. Let me see what we got going on here. Oh, and also if you looked at session volume profile, I forgot to show you that, but that is also more situated for the sell side. I don't know why TradingView is taking its sweet time. This is not an internet issue. This is absolutely a platform issue or a computer issue. Internet is golden. So your point of control is, I would like it to be higher, but it is still up here. So it does look like, at least right now, the market is trying to short Bitcoin. Now, if Bitcoin starts to trade above the point of control, it makes the short very dangerous, because all the people that have been shorting for the last several hours would be getting stopped out, and that could propel Bitcoin higher. So it'd be nice if we could get a tag of this level to kind of help us out, but it doesn't look like we're going to get that, at least on the bell. Taking a short down here would be a very aggressive, very not typically what I like to do kind of trade. But it might have to be done. Also, there's that July VWAP that is essentially holding price up here. That could be construed as more bullish for the monthly range. We operate intra-week, so we kind of put more weight on the intra-week stuff. And right now, the intra-week stuff is saying Bitcoin is weak, or weaker than it is strong. So we can only look for shorts. Don't know if I'm going to want to do that if this thing spikes after 10 o'clock. It's going to feel more like this is a trap to buy. So my daily bias, or the direction that I like Bitcoin for today, might be wrong. Just make sure you know what you stand to lose. I'm not entering a short down here. I can only do that here or here. So I must wait for price to come to me. But just make sure you know what you stand to lose if you're taking risk in the live markets. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, man. I'm just getting back from this bear market. 4-year cycle bros claiming bulls run starting in October. The alts are so cheap. Good time to start accumulation. Yeah, I don't like trying to pick stocks or specific alts. There might be a better channel for that. I'm more of a, just a scalper, not really an investor. So, I mean, in terms of the crypto market, the only coin that I can own is Bitcoin. There are some good ones out there. I'm sure of it. I don't know which ones are hot right now, which ones have the best future, yada, yada, yada. There are a lot of other YouTube channels out there that are probably better suited to answering that question than me. Good morning, Peter. Good morning, Tom. Lunar Entity. The market is so choppy as the dollar reaches a decision point. I agree. It is in price discovery, my friend. That is exactly how these markets work. Markets stay in price discovery a lot more than they are in trending mode. That's for sure. It's annoying for, directionally biased traders, but it is what it is. We take what we get. Can you take a look at SNDK? Nice bounce off the 55-day. Yeah, we'll look at it here in a little bit. I don't want to miss the short on Bitcoin. As like I said, this hasn't been a great week for me. So I'm definitely interested in jumping on a trade here this morning. All right. So SpaceX is a little bit weak here on the initial bell. I really wouldn't be just because it's pulling back down here, it doesn't really matter to me. This would be a buying opportunity if I was looking at the long side of this thing. I'm not, but if I was, I would not be worried about this price action here. I am short, so obviously I want to see it fall, but for me, I need to see it take out that low. It's got to take this low out for me to start to think that maybe this short trade is going to play out this morning. Right here, this is a pullback into support for the buy. Don't get, don't chase this. I don't care about the moving averages on anything lower than a 4-hour chart. I have a bad habit of leaving them on, and I apologize about that. But if you see moving averages on my chart and we're lower than the 4-hour, ignore them, as that's what I do. I like moving averages on weekly, daily, 4-hour, 3-day charts. That's it. Nothing else. As they just kind of help give us an idea where the momentum is. I'll pull up SNDK. Obviously, SNDK is overbought, right? It is massively overbought. It's fairly new. This memory price spike is AI has essentially made that the case. A lot of people that work in computers think that this is manufactured and it's a crock of garbage, but it is what it is. If you try to buy anything, any kind of RAM right now, you're going to pay an arm and a leg for it. It does look like the 50-day exponential has held as support. Does that mean you're going to see fresh all-time highs? I don't know. Probably the momentum is very strong here, but it's not something I want to get involved in. For me, this is just way too overbought. I would only be scalping momentum. It's a fairly expensive stock, so you better have some margin if you plan on getting sized up. Looks very strong. It looks like the bounce was strong. There's no way I could buy it here. I couldn't do anything with where it currently is. Because it could find resistance here too. I don't think it would, but let's see. Where would I be looking for resistance? Yeah, resistance would be much higher for me. I wouldn't even start to look for resistance until about 1986. Yeah, 1986. I mean, that's way up here. Yeah, so in terms of for me, there wouldn't be anything. I would consider shorting here a very aggressive short. But that's where you got to go to break out. So if you spend, 10 or 15 minutes chopping here with the end, like showing the inability to break out, then one might be able to look for a short scalp and target like 1750. But as long as it's above this level, I wouldn't even be interested in shorting it because you are breaking out. It's a very clean bounce off of that 50, like you said. Yeah, it looks like buyers are aggressively buying it. I wouldn't want to be trying to short that. Just trying to get a sense on the deltas here. Yeah, yesterday, the buyers were aggressive. Today, the buyers are not so aggressive. So for that reason, I could potentially scalp that. Let me see if SNDK is tradable on weeks. It is, but let's check the parameters to see if it's even worth trading. Yeah, you can essentially trade 290 contracts on this thing. That would be a pretty sizable position. I like it lower. This does not look like this up here. See this? This is completely different. The 200 4-hour is up here. So if it fails to trend above that level, I would be okay with putting on a short. Right now, you're kind of above that, so it makes putting the short on more risky. We've closed several 5-minute candles above that price. That would also be like 30-minute supply, so maybe I could take a short there. I have no clue how to position for that on this product. I've never traded it. So I don't know how many contracts I should take. Yeah. I don't know how many contracts to sell and where the stop would be. I would want to put my entry here at the white line, get a stop up here if possible, and then target, like I said, roughly about in this area, which would be about 1750, as that would be a decent 2-to-1 risk to reward. And at any point, if price is consistently closing, 5-minute or 1-minute candles above this white line, I would be very, very worried because the momentum has been so bullish lately. So it'd be a very aggressive style short. Those don't work out that often. And looking at the stock, the one that's currently being traded on the NASDAQ, we can see that the sellers are not the aggressors today. As long as you're above the neutral line, that means the buyers are more aggressive. You got to get negative into negative territory before you're signaling seller strength. Okay, Bitcoin spiking here. This is good for us. This is what we want to see. I would rather it spike early than wait till like 10, 10:30, or even 11 to spike, because then it would feel more like the initial New York Open was for the buyers. This is better. This works out better for us. So let me get Bitcoin pulled up over there. And back to the 4-hour. And lastly, let's move some money. We'll do 1,000 on it. That price that I'm watching, specifically 4-hour res, is on Week's platform 62,973. That's going to be the first price that I put risk on. 62,973. It is trading up into that area right now. I've not been filled yet. Yeah, I'd feel a lot better if the session volume profile was, or the point of control was up here, but it is what it is. We don't always get perfect A+ setups. In fact, they don't happen very often. But I take them every time they do happen, that's for sure. All right, while we're waiting on Bitcoin to fill us, let me read a couple more of these questions. Check now. I will look at now here in a little bit. And Zcash. Zcash is not a trade. It looks like it's holding support. It's testing the weekly VWAP, but the pressure, this is last week's VWAP anyways. I mean, if it fails above that, where is Sunday? Sunday. Oh, I guess that was. Yeah, I don't like that the VWAP is up. July's VWAP is holding support and the weekly VWAP is up. The range for the week is up. This is your weekly open here. Your weekly open is holding as support. So this line needs to be up here for us to be looking for shorts. Could it still be a short if it fails to trend above that level? Yeah, it could. I don't love it, but it could. Right? I would rather this weekly open be up here, but it isn't, so it's not a setup. Like, this would be more of a, like, give me more of a long bias based on this price action. I would have to look at the daily and the weekly and all that to see how that looks, but just given what I see here, I would not want to be bearish. Also, the bulls are in control or more aggressive today, so I definitely wouldn't want to get involved with that. It did not get filled. I don't want to have to chase this thing, but I will. It doesn't look like... You get the dollar pulled up over there on that other monitor. That way I can pay attention to what it's doing. Dollar is ultra choppy this morning. Dollar is also weak today. You can hold support where it's at right now. That will be good for the Bitcoin short. I have to chase this down a little bit. Can be a little bit more aggressive on the first attempt. Dollar is currently testing support at the same time Bitcoin is testing resistance. This is what we want to see. It's what we don't want to see the dollar do for our Bitcoin shorts is we do not want to see it break down and start to put in a larger move lower, as that would make the first initial short on Bitcoin to get stopped out. But if it holds firmly here for 15-20 minutes, that would be a very good sign. All right, Bitcoin's about to fill us. I am filled. Very tight stop. That stop's going to be just above the prior 4-hour high. Just right there. So I'm probably going to get taken out just as quick as I got filled. Second attempt will be high of day if it gets stopped. So we're stopped out on that first attempt. And you have a bullish engulfing 4-hour candle as of right now. Still plenty of time on this for this to end up being a bearish engulfing. 2 hours, 6 minutes. Next area to look for shorts here. And then that will be the last place. I have to chase it a little bit here. I'm just trying to get filled again. This is 4-hour res right here. So if it drops back under that, I will absolutely jump back on it. With a stop above this swing now. There's always a chance to get chopped up on it when we're trying to do this because, like I said, the dollar still is not backing off away from them lows, and I would really want to see it start to do that pretty aggressively because Bitcoin can move a lot more than the dollar does. And they're not perfectly inverse. So we might have to send in a little bit of pain here for a minute. Of course, we don't have to, really, because we're not closing candles under that level. There we go. That should do a 1 minute close. Oh, no, not yet. I like this. But the dollar is still hanging out on those lows. So I'm very concerned about that. As if this cuts loose, then Bitcoin's going to come back up and grab us. There goes the dollar. So it doesn't look like it's going to hold support here. It's going to be bad for Bitcoin shorts. All right, what's SpaceX doing real quick? Refusing to break down. Like I said, as long as it's holding support there, it's a buying op. You see that? You see how it traded right down to that low and then essentially bounced. That's the trading range. So it's got to break down below that to break the trading range. Same goes for up here. It's got to break out above this to break the trading range. As long as it's in this range, that's where the trades are being put on. Dollar weakness would probably be more helpful for risk today than it would hurt it. Risk is bullish. So SanDisk is probably going to remain bullish as well. Like I said, SanDisk looks fine for upside continuation. Strength, bulls are in control. Order flow, momentum all look good for upside continuation. This looks bad for Bitcoin shorts. Very bad. As your sellers are more aggressive and price is not confirming that. That is usually not good. We want price to confirm what volume says it should be doing. If it doesn't, then that could indicate that there's an iceberg. An iceberg just means there's a hidden buyer who is absorbing all of the seller's pressure. Either way, not good for shorts, right? Thanks to the dollar being very sideways and chaotic this week, it has been a very difficult trade for the short side. Yeah, it looks like it's going to go up. Dollar is trending lower. You are now trending lower here, so that's probably going to wash it on the Bitcoin short up. Dollar could find support here, obviously, but it's not a good look because the last few hours you were trending down. This is like a rejection. There's only 58 minutes left on this candle. But yeah, not good. What a mess. Absolute mess this week. The dollar longs are so crowded too. If this thing gets under these lows down here, you could see a large move lower. As risk starts to, or as dollar longs start to get peeled off. All these aggressive longs that got taken here when it was trending. Stops are going to be placed under this swing low. I'm wondering if big money isn't trying to position against the dollar, anticipating a yen intervention. It's just so expensive to try to put that trade on right now. You run into this scenario where you literally don't have any buyers on the dollar yen above 160 out of fear, or, you know, the fear for the threat of BOJ intervention. So you kind of have this scenario where the dollar is broken out, but it can't really sustain the rally because there's threat of intervention. So you just have a whole lot of people on the sidelines waiting to see what the dollar is going to do. The only trade to put on, right, is a long, and you can't do that above 160. So for days and days and days, you just kind of don't do anything. That's affecting the dollar. All right, so Bitcoin is going to break again to the upside here. All right, so that's probably going to do it. As it is 10 o'clock, it's going to cut loose. It needs to cut loose soon. The dollar is just continuing to trend lower. I do not feel good for the Bitcoin long or short at all any longer. I just want to say your new internet is so good. I used to not be able to watch you on 2 times to catch up if I was late. It would buffer with your new internet. I can 3x and it flies. Good stuff. Yeah. I'm glad fiber is available in my area. And the guy was a champ too, bro. Cause like I had a guy from Comcast out here. He wouldn't do nothing. I can't even get to the pole, man. And I was like, what, you don't have a chainsaw? He's like, no, we don't do that. I was like, whatever. So he leaves, and the first AT&T guy I had out didn't want to do it either. But back then, it wasn't fiber. It was just DSL anyway. So I went with the Internet Air, and they built a new tower here last year. In January, it went live. So once that happened, the internet was at least fast enough to stream. So this year has been pretty okay in terms of internet. That will never be an issue again. That's the speed test I ran right before I went live. All you need is 10 megabytes per second sustained to run a good quality YouTube stream. If you can sustain 10 megabytes per second upload speeds, you can stream. We're crushing those speeds. Like I'm running a live stream right now, have multiple trading platforms open, many different things that are all tapped, TVs hooked up to the internet. Like, yeah, we're good on internet. We're good on internet. It's so awesome to be able to say that because for years it's been an absolute battle. All right, so dollar is bouncing finally. I don't really see why it would do that. It seems to me like price would want to come here at a bare minimum. But it could just build in a higher low, I guess. I don't know. This looks good. This looks really, really good. This is comforting at a bare minimum. I would feel much better, obviously, about the trade if the dollar was rallying. But it could still work. I don't love this weakness in the dollar. This weakness makes me think that Bitcoin's going to break out today. Yesterday on Bitcoin could have been a trap, a bear trap, right? That's what we have to worry about right here. This close under the 21, since it's the first day since you recovered it right through here, this could be a trap. And we'll know that it is if today closes above yesterday's high. But I mean, it's late in the week, so I'm not looking for a big trending move either way. It's late in the week. Next week, we get the CPI numbers. Just like I said back in early June, that this FOMC meeting that we're going to get on June the 16th will be the most important Fed meeting that we've gotten all year. It ended up being the most important because it was going to essentially dictate monetary policy for the remainder of the year. This CPI print that we're going to get Wednesday will be the most important CPI print of the year for second half trading and second half positioning. That's next week. Core inflation. It's on Tuesday, sorry. Tuesday morning at 8:30. You're going to get your core inflation numbers year over year. 4.2 was the last. They're not even giving me a forecast. There's no forecast. So we could ask Grok what he thinks it's going to be. I think it's going to be lower. I think it's going to drop. It's going to drop significantly. It should drop by at least 2 or 3 tenths. Let's ask Grok what it thinks real quick. While he's economists and nowcasting models print to continued elevated but gradually moderating inflation. Expected around 3.9. So like I said, it should drop at least 0.3. If you're at 4.2 now, a 3.9 read would be 0.3. Oil has come off by what? At least $40 a barrel. So if it's off $40 a barrel, that should influence price by, 0.4%. Or not price, but CPI, the print. So lowering inflation with the jobs number that we got last Thursday, that's going to curb hawk Fed. So even though the Fed has come out essentially claiming to be super hawkish, the market will start to basically smell BS and go the other way. So CPI going down, jobs being bad, they will not be able to hike, which they haven't priced in a hike. The Fed's median projection on the dot plot was that they stay at 350 where they are now throughout and into the end of the year. No rate hikes, no rate cuts, just nada, nothing burger. Obviously, Bitcoiners or Uber bulls want rate cuts, as they think that would be bullish for Bitcoin. I don't know if it would or not. I don't know. I mean, generally speaking, when we're in a cutting environment, Bitcoin does tend to do well, but you got BIP 110 drama, and it's heating up because you're getting closer and closer to where, it'll be a user activated fork, or is it going to be miner activated? The BIP 110 drama, it's still out there. It's probably keeping a lot of people from buying Bitcoin right now. Once that's done and over with, as long as nothing dramatically happens, then you will see Bitcoin rally. Most likely. Probably see a collapse like for the first few days or whatever going into it, and then after it, maybe a week or two of very chaotic, choppy price action. But then as long as everything is normal, that'll lead you going into roughly a right around 4-year cycle analysis. I have, for being a buyer using 4-year cycle analysis, is in November. Right? Wait, wrong one. I thought it was this one. Where did it go? I must have deleted it. Oh no, right there. There it is. November. So 500 days before the halving, you'd be a buyer. And then you sell 500 days after the halving. So you buy here in November, hold it for 1,000 days, and sell it. Bam. That gets you out of the bear market, keeps you out of the bear markets, and only puts you in the upside. That's the 4-year cycle. So some people are calling for lows in October. If you think the lows are going to happen in October, then it makes sense to wait until November to buy. Is it going to work out this perfectly? I doubt it. It could. Anything is possible. Anything and everything is possible. Price is chaotic. It is impossible to predict. You can predict it. It's just you're not going to be very accurate in your predictions, right? So, yeah. Starting to look a little better here. So far, so good. Sellers are still the aggressors. That's good for us. So, take profits. Since this is our entry, we would want a 2% move. That's going to put you right at around low of day. So you would have to take profits ahead of low of day. You can't put it down here under the low. It's got to be up here. So it's not going to be quite a 2% trade. You might want to even just think about maybe accepting 150 and get your take profit just above the July VWAP. That would be a safer place. Obviously, it's less money, but still the same. Remember, if the dollar eventually breaks out to the upside, then you could see Bitcoin sustain a downtrend for a little while. A few days anyways. There are a lot of stock people based on Michael Saylor selling on this day. So Monday he came out and said that he was selling a couple thousand Bitcoin. Everybody took that as bearish, jumped on shorts, Bitcoin rallied. Those people are now trying to buy Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin isn't going to go down, it's going to go up on bad news. I want to be long. So you're going to get those people off the offsides as well. So Bitcoin ultimately breaks this low. You could definitely see a retest of Feb's low by this time next week. Now, if you're short from here, ultimately you could see a larger move, but we don't try to predict that. So if you shorted here, you're taking profits before support. And then you leave the small trade open for the continuation trade. That's if we get the move. I am liking what I am seeing now, finally, on the dollar. So far, so good. At least it's doing that and not continuing to head lower. And I said that there's enough time for this 4-hour candle to turn to a bearish engulfing. There still is. You still have a 1 hour, 40 minutes on this candle. Now, this is actually working out to perfection. You couldn't ask for a better scenario. I mean, you could ask for a 5% drop. You're not going to get it. It would be nice, but I doubt that happens. Yeah, let's check now, because we're positioned, and now the only thing we can do is wait for price to do its thing. Head lower. Set take profits at 62K, 62,012 or something like that. Let's go look at now. We get an idea of what's going on with this long term. Is this software? It is service now, if this is even what you're talking about. So naturally, software got hit hard because of AI. I mean, I don't know. I mean, technically, this looks really bad. Is it bottoming? Maybe. You've gotten 1, 2, 3, 4 months of higher lows. That's a good sign for bottoming potential. It doesn't mean that it is bottomed. Yeah, I mean, if it can hold support at prior month opens, or at least at a bare minimum prior monthly swing lows, one might be okay. Market data unavailable. What is going on? Reconnected. Thank you. Risk is starting to fade. S&P. Bitcoin's volatility is still fading. So we're still fading. For short side setups, you kind of want this to be moving in an upward direction, not fading. Now, volatility can still fade with prices going lower, but if volatility is fading like this, chances of getting a big move are less likely. You need a spike in volatility for big moves. So Bitcoin could chop here for the entire day. You see the VIX is rising. That's a good sign. And risk is fading a little bit. But this could just be a support test. As long as price is trading above 74, it could be support. You're at support on the daily. Yeah, this thing's very slow. If it could hold the lows, I just don't know how I feel about supply long term, or not supply, but software long term, especially software as a service. I'm not going to go as far as some analysts have and say that it's dead, but they're going to have to pivot. A lot of these companies are going to have to pivot. They're going to have to figure out new ways to bring in new income. And it's going to be hard competing with the AI giants, because essentially AI can write software. So you got people that have one good Claude bot building software now that will compete with these large billion-dollar corporations. It's not fair, but that's what happens in business. Times change, and if you don't change with the times, you get left behind. I mean, just go ask Nike, Harley Davidson. There's so many companies that used to be great investments that you will not see me buying anytime soon. Nike, Harley, there's just so many of them. And software as a service, it's going to get hit hard. Look at Adobe. Adobe still hasn't recovered. Adobe hasn't even put in a floor yet. Avgo still looks good. Amazon still looks okay. Oracle, there is threats that this company is going to go out of business, though. Those threats are mainly coming from AI bears. I'm not bearish on AI. I don't understand it, so I can't really see how they're going to monetize it. But once they figure that out, I think they'll be fine. So, I guess you could say that there's a chance to buy this now on sale, but it's dangerous. It hasn't bottomed yet. They're doing fine, but they have cloud. Cloud, anybody that deals with cloud is going to do fine. Zscaler, not looking good. CRM still getting beat up as well. Workday, same. Looks like now. Even Microsoft is suffering right now. And Microsoft is in the AI biz. They are one of the hyperscalers. So Palantir, Intuit, not Intuit, but whatever this is, looks rough, man. This thing was trading for $800 a couple years ago. Trading sub 300 now. Damn, that's annihilated. Yeah, Adobe's gonna lose. I think Adobe's probably in worse case. In a worse boat than others. They were a huge company. They were making huge money for just content creation, because they were getting, depending on the creator, up to like $200-300 a month for some of their software that they sold as a service, reoccurring payments. Now people are bailing. They can make it free on AI. Why would I pay, or not free, but a very cheap subscription versus an expensive subscription? It's a no-brainer. So I don't know if Adobe does more, but they're mostly known for software. Just be careful with any software as a service company. So far, so good on SPCX. If it can break under that low and give us continuation, that would be better. The dollar has bounced, but that's all it is so far. It's just a bounce. It needs to put in a trending move. It needs to start heading higher. I would really like to see price start confirming that weakness that we're seeing in volume. Don't like this higher low. I just want to say, I read that. Last week's midpoint also, says Tom. Where's last week's midpoint? Oh, yeah, it bounced from last week's midpoint. Yeah, close to it. It was close. Very close. ES tagged yesterday's high, DXY on the week open. Yeah. Always hated Adobe products. So clunky. Glad they're no longer in the spotlight. Yeah, they were expensive. I never paid for any of their content creation tools, their thumbnail makers or anything like that, photo, whatever. There were cheaper services out there, not as good as Adobe maybe in some cases, but I mean, I'm not looking to run a very successful YouTube business anyway, so I don't need to spend all that money on it. But yeah, you can do it on AI if you know how to prompt AI. Some people come up with amazing thumbnails using AI. I mean, you can pretty much do whatever your mind can think of, right? If you know how to prompt. AI is going to be very useful for stuff like that. It's going to help a lot of people create new businesses that couldn't before. Now they can. AI is going to be good long term. I just wish the AI companies would start discussing pricing mechanisms instead of just token queries and things like that. Right now, there are a lot of people out there barking that this is absolutely a bubble and there's no way to justify these evaluations. But you will always have sell-side analysts that have those talking points. It doesn't matter what kind of revolution you're seeing. I'm sure there were bears in the Industrial Revolution too, right? There's always bears. Always. And they're always the loudest, usually. But I haven't seen any of the like AI bulls backing off. Like they're just as long and strong as they were 6 months ago. I mean, trillions of dollars are being invested into this. I think it's like 2 or 4% of US's entire GDP. Insanity. Unfortunately, China's relatively close to the US and they have not spent not even a small percentage of what the US has spent. So that's what's kind of got some people thinking, wait a minute, slow your roll here. Something stinks. And then you have the younger generation mostly hates AI. I can't stand AI videos on YouTube. I wish YouTube would just, I mean, using AI to do a voiceover or, you know, make some images is one thing, but you've got full on just channels who are ripping off other content creators' stuff almost down to word for word and just putting a fake voice over a fake guy with fake stock images. Like complete free channels stealing stuff. Like, and then the shorts are absolutely being dominated by YouTube. AI short videos. Some of them are funny, I get it, but 90% of it's annoying. Like, I don't want to see fake AI people doing what would be amazing things if it were real. And nobody wants to see that. Not to the extent that it is on YouTube right now. It's pathetic. It's bad. I don't even look at shorts anymore. Very long. I'll scroll for a minute or two and then I have to stop. S&P's finding support. The risk not really being affected by strong dollar. S&P finding support. Trump engaging in bombing Iran again yesterday, last night, and night before last. That's what caused a little bit of this sell side action. I put 100K to work on Tuesday in a bunch of dividend plays. Every single one of those are down right now. Every one. So I bought all those things, and then Trump goes and bombs Iran again. Thanks, Trump. Love it. He's an annoying asshole for the markets. Yeah, the Bitcoin volatility is concerning. When I see stuff like this, it just reeks of sell side exhaustion. When it puts in those lower lows and then just stays grinding that level for like 2 hours and then bow. Feels like exhaustion, but we'll see. The shorts are definitely trying to break it down. That will cause a short squeeze potentially if they don't get the breakdown. That's what's so bad about this current setup on SPCX. You're at the lows. So if it doesn't break down, then I would be looking for a short squeeze back in the opposite direction soon. Maybe another week, 2 weeks. If it doesn't break down, I'd quit trying to short it. If it does break down, then there's no real way of knowing how low it's going. So there might be some scalpable opportunities if you get the breakdown and it's sustained. It's sustained. But I can't, like, there's nothing I can see here that looks like that's even. The lower bounces is kind of a good sign. There's not really enough data, enough time to really see. Like, volume is decreasing on the lows. So, I don't know if you're going to get a sustained breakdown. We can also look at visible range profile here. You can see clearly people are trying to buy the lows. Lots of volume down here at 156. Not much volume on the breakdown. So I don't know if you're going to see a big breakdown here. Could happen, but if SpaceX pulls back 50%, I might buy some shares. So 112 would be about that 50% area. 112, 110, just call it 110. That's about where I think support would show up. That's still a lot higher than where some analysts have put their valuation. I've seen a few come in around 60 and 80 per share, but I don't know if you're going to get that low. It has happened, though, with all tech stocks. Once they IPO, all tech stocks have IPO'd and then lost 50% of their value at some point. 100% of them. So that's why I think if it does break down, you could see a run to about that price. Let's go look at the two preferreds. Oh, wait. Still looking rough. Here, you can throw this one away and leave one of those empties. Oh, is that one emptier? Yeah. Thank you, baby. Yeah, I don't love that it bounced off of 90 and reversed. I want to see it being able to reclaim 90 and then hold 90 as support. I don't think that's going to happen until Bitcoin is showing clear signs of support. And then SATA is Strive. It's actually doing better. It's much smaller comparative to STRC. I mean, it's doing far better right now. Obviously, if Saylor gets in, if he gets his wish and is included in one of the index products, then his company will benefit from exchange flows. But he also needs a credit rating. Then, if he were to get that in the future, I think STRC will, in terms of volume, will always outperform this, but this one is just a lot more volatile, I guess. I mean, not really either, because didn't STRC get lower than that? Gosh, man. That man, if he wasn't gray before this, I bet he is now. You know he's sweating bullets. I don't think he's a huge risk. At least with Bitcoin sustaining 60K, but I think Bitcoin will do fine once the Bit 110 drama goes away. As long as everything works out fine, it'll find support. We are seeing so many things on chain literally saying that you should be buying with both hands right now. Bitcoin, that is, not these products. Bitcoin. If you want to participate in Bitcoin rallies, then buy and store off exchange physical Bitcoin. I don't understand buying other products to essentially be involved in Bitcoin. I own Bitcoin. I own the keys, the cold storage wallets, all of it. It's not that difficult. It's just a couple points and clicks of a mouse. Yeah, guys, I don't think you're going to see a big breakdown. DVOL is literally trending lower. It's at 38.15 at this point. So even if you see even though the sellers are more aggressive here, I don't like that volatility. There's just everybody that wants to sell Bitcoin has sold. And see slight selling pressure yesterday. Just slight. Slight buying pressure on the 7th. Good buying pressure on the 6th. Yeah, this will be this kind of stuff. If this continues, a couple of days of bullish pressure, a couple of days of bearish. If it gets back to that, I think Bitcoin floats higher. I really do. Long-term holder supply just moving higher. It's at all-time highs up here. This was your all-time high. Literally every time this thing rallies or gets above all-time highs, Bitcoin does pretty damn good. Starts to. Basically, everybody who wants to sell has sold. There's still that black swan risk. You get a chain split or something like that, or Michael Saylor is ordered by a judge to liquidate, like anything like that. But those are all, you plan for those, obviously, or you prepare for them at a bare minimum. Stop losses to keep you from eating massive losses for black swan events. But there are so many on-chain indicators right now screaming the bottom is probably in. If you get another low, it probably will be another insignificant lower low. The fact that the bears literally have everything they needed to crush this, they haven't been able to crush it, tells me that there is a lot of absorption happening on the long end. So I figure we're probably going to see a lot more sideways grinding price action, just like what we're seeing here. No major lows, no major highs, just grindage. Makes for boring days. We're above the POC up here, right? Yes, we are above the POC. So far, so good on this end over here. This is what we wanted to see, a higher high. We got a higher high. That's good. That's a good sign. Finally. Finally. A higher high. Good, good, good. I would love it if D-vol would stop going lower for the current position that I have open. I would much rather Bitcoin trended up. It's just easier for everybody to make money when Bitcoin's going up. Their real bread and butter was that they locked in a ton of government contracts. Who's that? Adobe? With government contracts? Nice. Morning traders, says Janet. Good morning, Janet. Four-hour on DXY looks good. It's a support test and it held, so that's a good sign. decent chart. Yeah, I mean, that would look really good for a continuation move lower. What's silver doing today? Rebounding a little. It looks exactly like Bitcoin. Trading inside yesterday's range. I don't know that I would want to take the short on silver right here. I could if I thought it was going to go lower based on dollar strength alone. Just selling it this low in the range, kind of not the greatest place to put risk, in my opinion. SPCX still trying to grind in those lows. That's a kind of a good sign. At least it's grinding the lows and not ripping to the upside, right? Let's take a look at the long-term portfolio, see what these things are doing. This one grinding highs. Looks good if it could break out. Looks really good. Could see a rip higher if it can break out. I probably should have waited on that one to the bottom side of the range. 68.17 would have been a better place to be buying that. So we might reallocate later on that. We'll see. Verizon, not looking great. Trading inside last week's range, so that's okay. VICI here is one that I'm concerned with because this is a multi-year low. You have literally just liquidated. The problem is you liquidated this wick last month. So you've already liquidated that level. You're liquidating this level now. So as long as it's trading under that, my concern is obviously 2021 lows. What I would love to see happen here is it stop going down. So far, so good. I don't mind wicks under here as long as it can reclaim 2022's low. I'll be good. This one, for some reason, I didn't get filled on. I gotta say, I like it as long as it stays above that. I really don't like that it hasn't really trended in 10 years. That's an issue. General Mills is another. I don't know if they're going to be able to recover. A lot more healthy people out there nowadays. More health conscientious. General Mills does a lot more than just cereal, but They're a multi-conglomerate now. But I might invest if it could recapture this low and hold support. Last 4 years have been bad for General Mills. Good looking chart, just had a couple rough years. So if it can show me that it's done putting in at least fresh yearly lows, makes sense that it's selling off this week. If it can hold last week's low, I might go ahead and buy a couple thousand shares. I don't know. I'd have to do the math. It's a dividend, and their dividends have only gone up over time. They don't reduce the dividend. Good, strong company. Could do some things to get their price chart in recovery. We look at analyst ratings on this. We've got 4 saying it's a strong buy, 14 say it's a hold, 1 says it's a sell, and 3 say it's a strong sell. This is the issue right here, obviously. Looks like their sells, or at least their earnings, topped out in 2023 at $4.5 billion. And we would have to look at it on a quarterly basis to see where it looks like it's heading. Looks like it's not heading in a good place so far. Hasn't even reported Q1 earnings yet. We just started Q3, bro. Damn, and they're estimated to come in lower. And okay, so I don't know if I would buy this now. That's a good sign, at least. If they could stay above 0.64, might put in a floor. Longer term, just give it let it stew a little while. Coca-Cola was breaking out fresh all-time highs. I hate buying fresh all-time highs. Johnson & Johnson, fresh all-time highs. I hate buying fresh all-time highs. I don't know what happened here, but man, it took off to the upside. And that's just been going up ever since. Absolute insanity. Procter & Gamble. It's holding a floor so far, but still kind of bearish structure. I don't like that. Monthly looks okay. Yeah, if it could hold 138, I'd probably be a buyer of Procter & Gamble. ARCC is potentially building in a floor. And then I think RSP would be a better investment for the rest of the year instead of a tech-heavy S&P 500. But I want it to pull back a little bit. I don't want to buy it up here. But apparently that's all it's going to give us on a pullback. That's all it's going to give us. Money flows into this every single day. So Bitcoin's back up to 4-hour res. So I don't know about this. Even though the dollar's rallying, Bitcoin is refusing to roll. 38.05 on volatility. If we don't see a trending move soon, gonna have to bail on this trade idea. We've been in it for an hour now, and it isn't going in our direction. So we'll give it another 10 to 15 minutes tops. If it's still doing this in 5, 10, 15 minutes, we're going to bail on it. Would MAR be a good swing short? MAR. I don't know what MAR is. Is it a crypto? Did you miss a letter? A good swing short. Not according to this chart, but I mean, I can't predict what price will do. I can't. All I can do is look at the indicators. We don't like selling strong stuff. This is clearly strong. I don't know if this is what you're talking about. You could be talking about something completely different. I don't know, but no, I mean, for the last 10 years, this has done nothing but make fresh highs. Why would, I mean, a swing trade isn't a long-term trade. It's a week, 2 weeks to a month. I mean, it took out last week's high and refused to go higher. That's a good sign, at least for the near term, right? So if I was willing to short this, would I short it here? No. That's where I would have been looking for the short. And I mean, it gave you an intraday opportunity to put that trade on at that level. So, I mean, the trade's already working for the swing. I wouldn't take it now for the swing. Yes, this is it. Okay. A daily rising wedge. Yeah, I don't trade patterns. I don't have enough back-tested data to say if they work right or not, right? So I don't have an edge by looking at patterns. And a lot of patterns are very subjective. I mean, what you see as a rising wedge, other people see as just an uptrend. I could put on the all pattern indicator and see what if it finds a rising wedge. No. I mean, you could argue that this is pulling back because of a perfect risk to reward target on a rectangle pattern. So, I mean, I would look at this as selling pressure only from profit taking. I just don't know many professionals that trade patterns. So I've never really learned much about them. I don't know enough data. But, I mean, the all charts pattern indicator isn't showing a rising wedge. Doesn't mean that you're wrong. I'm not saying that. You could be right. I don't know. I don't see it. I see a standard uptrend with bouts of volatility. That's all I see when I look at this chart. Just standard price chart that trends from the bottom left to the top right. Aggressively, I might add. These lows down here are at $40. That's a 10x. It's not a little move. That's a gigantic move. Support held on the last 21 tests, and then when it was in that box area, when it was building in that rectangle, it held the weekly 21 for a very long time. So that caused that massive breakout. So maybe wait, or the 50, maybe wait for a pullback to the 50, but I would be a buyer if support was holding at the 50. I would probably be okay with buying it if the 21 held. Yeah, like I said, if you want to take a swing short on it, the only place to watch for those entries are going to be at prior weekly highs. And then you're going to want to see a failure, similar to what happened this week. If you get that, you can put that trade on and see if it plays out long term. Yeah. But I mean, I wouldn't. It's not my style. I would have been willing to short 382 if you would have brought it up to us like last week. This week, I don't see anything. And like next week, I would just watch the high. But you would have to be a lot more risk averse that time. Because if you're back up at weekly highs again, that does not scream weakness. It's usually the opposite. Like today, you couldn't even make a fresh weekly low. This week, you made a fresh weekly low, but last week's low is right there. And so far, they came right in and bought that up. That's why you're bouncing today. I would argue that this would be a near-term buying opportunity, not a selling opportunity. You see how the sellers beat this down last time? And the first 200 test, you got that bounce and then it came back in. It seems like you're probably right now seeing something similar to that. Right? They're taking profits up here, and then short sellers jump on it. They beat it down. You get this bounce because of a short covering rally, people closing short trades because of support. You get an immediate bounce, and then the sellers jump back on it. They get their move lower and a lower low, but there's no continuation. In fact, once that low was put in and you bounced, you never put in another lower low. And then you just chopped around this average for what looks like several weeks before eventually reclaiming it, testing it as support, holding support, and leaving it in the rear view. This time they couldn't even get a break under it before the buyers jumped in for the second leg higher. So what I would argue to you is if you're not putting in lower lows under 365, then you should walk away from any short thesis that you have on this. You need to see a lower low and then trend continuation. Then you would be able to argue that that overall rising wedge pattern that you're looking for to break is breaking. If you build in a long-term support just under the average and you start to see higher lows build in just under the average, I would be flipping to bullish. Something like that. I would be arguing that that's more bullish than bearish. So be careful here. This is potentially where other people will get involved on the long. I don't think you're going to get resolution out of this anytime soon anyway. Every single time it came back into this average, it took a couple of weeks to resolve as price went into discovery. You're back into an area where you could see price discovery. It's a very bullish chart. Bitcoin is above 4-hour res, so we're going to call it. It's not working out. And this is with dollar moving higher, or at least it was. So just a very sideways day on the dollar. That's causing everything else to be sideways. But Bitcoin, you're under 30. You're at 37.98 on DVOL. DVOL looks rough for shorts. I said that from the beginning of the session, and I mean, this thing has just been making fresh low after fresh low. We said we wanted it to stop going lower here. It did not. It's been trending. That means the short is not working. I would argue that there's probably a long squeeze about to take place on Bitcoin. So if you're in the short, bail. There's no point in holding it any longer. Let's go look at SpaceX, see what it's done. It's doing the same thing. I don't think SpaceX has anything to do with the dollar, but you're definitely not going to see risk off if dollar is weak. I think you're probably going to need a broader risk off market condition to get this breakdown. As long as you don't have risk off, it's probably going to be difficult for sellers to take this lower. So, yeah, unfortunately, just not a lot to do right now with sideways markets. I don't think Zcash breaks down here either if Bitcoin starts to go up. This structure is far more bullish than it is bearish. All right, even though it broke out, it came back. But as long as you're building a range above the average, that's not a bearish sign. That's more bullish than bearish. Could break down, but I don't think you got enough here for the breakdown. I could be wrong, obviously. What's Fartcoin doing? Yeah, Fartcoin isn't doing anything on the lows either. So Fartcoin essentially gave us 1 day of continuation to this week. 1 day of expansion. And that's this day here. Sideways, sideways, sideways. 1 day lower, sideways. Yeah. If this continues, I'll probably get bullish on Fartcoin. Bonk got killed because of bad news, but I haven't traded Bonk in a long time. Yeah, Pingu still looks really bearish, but I mean, also same scenario. You really didn't see, I guess you could argue that 2 days, you got 2 days of downside expansion this week on Pingu. We were not short Pingu, so it doesn't matter, but just not seeing a whole lot of downside continuation on anything. Yeah, I would be hard pressed to short silver down here. If it fails here, maybe. But you could keep it on watch for that. I wouldn't short it unless there's like an obvious failure there. And then second, I would want to see the funding rate paying the sellers on silver. Let me pull that up real quick to see if that's happening. Yeah, the funding rate is paying the sellers for now. But I wouldn't be bearish silver if dollar ends up being weak. If you make another weekly low on the dollar, that's going to be bad. Next week will be the week to look for trend resumption. We didn't get trend resumption last week, and we haven't gotten trend resumption this week. So I guess next week, will we get resumption, or will we get it a breakdown? Will it be a swing high failure? I think if you got a swing high failure up here, that would be bad. You could see a pretty vicious move lower, especially if the BOJ gets involved. Holy cow, that could be a nasty move lower. That, I think, would be super bullish for Bitcoin. So basically, it's going to be a dollar story. This is still very bullish for the dollar on the near term. So, I mean, as long as it's trading above prior week lows, I would have a bullish bias on it, is what I'm saying. Now, on an intraday basis, it's going to be more difficult trying to assess daily range expansions, because you're just not getting any clear anything here. This is as choppy as you can be. So be careful. Make sure your risk is mitigated. Maybe find something that's trending, tradable and trending. You're not even seeing a trending move here on Tesla. Very choppy. There's just nothing is defined. Meta would have been a beautiful short this morning. I mean, yesterday, but today it's reclaimed. I need to look in settings real quick. There has to be some way to change this. What I want to change is the candlesticks. I don't want this candle to be white if it's above yesterday's close. I want the open of the day to dictate the color of the candle. If price is trading above the open, I want it to be white. Trading below the open, I want it to be blue. I hate it when it changes colors like that. There has to be a setting for that, because TradingView did not used to do that. That is something that is new. I might have to talk to Grok about it and see where that setting is. Value line, value according to scale. See, it says it's down 0.74% because it's going by, it's being judged on yesterday's close. See how it just changed to blue? I don't like that. I need that changed. Clearly that ain't it. So many settings, man. Whatever. I'll figure it out. All right. Any more important questions? Do you think it is useful to use the Bitcoin index chart? It aggregates the main exchanges, so it averages the indicators like POC and CBDs. What's Bitcoin's index chart? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like the CME Bitcoin chart? For example, the CBDs on Binance might show bullish and on Coinbase bearish. Yeah, I mean, I try to not... Okay, so when it comes to cumulative volume delta, you're going... Different exchanges report what they are getting on exchange. So, of course, Coinbase's data feed is going to be volumes that are being traded on Coinbase's chart, right? So, an overall index chart might show you broader market-wide information. Maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe it is better. Like, if you could give me a ticker, I'd go look and see what it looks like. I mean, it makes sense that would happen, but I don't know if it would work out that way. But I understand the concern. Obviously, it sucks when the cumulative volume delta chart literally says that it's bearish on Coinbase, but then you go look at Binance data and it's bullish. I get it. I don't do that. I just look at what I got on the chart that I have. To be honest with you, things are usually a little bit more clear than when something is, you know, choppy and shitty. It doesn't matter what indicators you use when trying to dictate intraday price action, really and truly, because intraday price action is emotional and chaotic. So even, you know, it's just do whatever gives you an edge. If it gives you a better edge to do what you're suggesting, then do that. But I don't know, like, tell me what the ticker is specifically, and we'll pull it up real quick and we'll take a look at it. When you say the Bitcoin index chart, I'm not sure. So what do I type in? BTC index? Is that what I type in? Like, that's what I'm asking you. I don't know what the ticker is for the Bitcoin index chart is. Like, I don't see Bitcoin index anywhere. You said BTC index. The symbol does not exist. Oh, this one specifically? Maybe I'll keep an eye on it, because this is clearly up. Like, this would have been a no trade for us, right? We would have looked at this and been like, well, it's not a short, especially if it starts trending up. Here's the issue with this indicator specifically. It just shows you who's more aggressive. It doesn't show you, like, even if the bulls are more aggressive, it does not mean that price will go up. Because just like on the sell side, there could be a hidden seller here. A big hidden seller. It's the big people. They're the ones who hide their intent by hiding position size. Those are what I'm referring to when I say an iceberg, for instance. So you can have aggressive bulls, but if price doesn't confirm the move, then what you have is a discrepancy or a divergence because price is not confirming that move. So it's an iceberg. That means even though the buyers are more aggressive and it's even trending, so price should be trending, price isn't trending because every time price gets to the highs, it's absorbing all of that hidden sell pressure. So the way volumes are essentially, because you can hide volume, you can do it on all exchanges. I can hide my orders too. Then I can be shorting 100 contracts, but it shows up in the volume data as 1. You see what I'm saying? Instead of 100. And it's the other 99 that are being filled. That is essentially the iceberg. It's what you can't see. What nobody can see. It's just an indicator first and foremost. We kind of always want to just basically get our analysis and our bias from price. We use the indicator to help with positioning. So I knew right off the rip, as long as the dollar has more of a bullish tilt to it, then I have to be bearish an asset that's trading inversely correlated to the dollar. If there's zero correlation to the dollar, then it doesn't matter what the dollar's doing. Because the asset's doing its own thing. Then understanding or having a bullish or bearish bias on dollar wouldn't matter. So right now, a lot of what's driving my bias is the macro. Not so much price. It is price, but also the macro. So like price is doing what the macro says it should be doing. We just have this weird scenario right now where the BOJ is literally intervening. So the bullish breakouts on the dollar are getting faded by a central bank, thus causing problems for the dollar breakout sustainability. In normal scenarios where the macro is extremely bullish for the dollar and no central banks are intervening with that process, you're going to get nice trends out of the dollar. Bitcoin right now is in a bear market, but you're coming to the tail end of that bear market. So this is why I've been accumulating Bitcoin for the longer term, larger move that's probably coming more to the upside. But I mean, we'll take a look at this and we'll try to track it and see if it's helpful or not. I mean, it could have kept you out of the short this morning. I see that as probably being the only way that would have helped. But even, like I said, even then, it doesn't matter. Because if Bitcoin ends up rolling over here today and falling for the rest of the day, then this indicator would have not been helpful at all in today's trade. And that can still happen. Because we know, at least on the Coinbase exchange, that the sellers are more aggressive than the buyers. No doubt about it. Now, if you delete the indicator, or not delete it, just turn them off, all of them. VWAP tells you pretty much the same thing, doesn't it? On an intra-week basis. So let's hide the blue one. So if you look at this and you don't even have to look at the CVD, for instance, the cumulative volume delta. You don't even have to look at it. Just looking at this price chart, gauging where the weekly open is, right? Looking at just this week's data. Where is the weekly high, weekly low, and the weekly open? Well, it's clearly not trending because you set a weekly high, a weekly low, then a weekly high, and then backed off of that level. So it's sideways AF. You're not trending. That's one. When you, like, we were looking for the short today because we wanted it to trend. We're anticipating that it may start trending. Because it's backed off of the highs, because of where this indicator is and where this weekly open is, that would inherently give us a bearish bias, regardless of what the CVD says, regardless of what the POC says, because of where price is in comparison on the daily chart to the 21 exponential as well. Like, we would have more of a bearish bias. So, I mean, I could see that helping keeping us out of trades potentially that may not be good trades. But generally speaking, I'm just looking at price, this, and this to give me my overall bias. I'd be more leaning toward looking for the sell trade anyways in this scenario. Mainly the reason for that would be because this indicator, which is it's anchored to the weekly open. It's under the weekly open, suggests that there's more sell side volume than buy side volume. If this VWAP was above the weekly open, then you would be able to say, well, there's potentially more buying taking place than selling for the entire week. Right? Yeah, and then still, it's trading. There's no way to predict it, man. I wish there was. If there was, everybody would know it already and be using it. That's the one thing we cannot do. But it has also been proven so many times that it's not needed. That's the beauty of all of this. It's not needed. You can throw a dart at a dartboard and get your bias. As long as you have solid risk management, you're going to be profitable long term just by throwing darts. Take a dartboard, split half of it up, call that bull, the other half bear. Throw a dart, whatever it sticks on, that's your bias for the day. As long as you have solid risk management, you're going to make money long term. Especially as long as you're not over trading and blah blah blah, right? That leads into solid risk management. Because there's going to be days where you just get lucky. You're just going to nail a trade. It's going to work out so beautifully. It's going to be such a great trade. It's going to cover so many losses if your risk management is solid. Lose small when you're wrong. Win big when you're right. And you don't have to worry about nothing. The math works out. I use those indicators to kind of help with the bias, but we'll give it a shot. We'll see. We will see. Yeah, and that info I can't get from the dollar also. Like the DXY, because it's not a tradable asset. Specifically here, right? I can't trade this. It might be, you might be able to trade futures on the dollar or something like that, but give or take, the asset that I look at, this is a basket of currencies. It's the euro, Canadian dollar, pound, Swiss franc, Japanese yen. Those currencies and what they do dictates what this does, essentially. So I don't have volume, period, on this. So I can't put a VWAP on this. I can't put CBDs or deltas. Or not deltas, but, session volume profile. So in this scenario, all I have to go by is price and moving averages. So naturally, this would be a bullishly biased overall chart. You would be buying lows, prior day lows. Clearly, you wouldn't be buying yesterday's low because you're way under it, but there's the next prior day's low. It also happens to be the weekly low. Clearly, people have bought that because it bounced. So far, you have set another higher low. So until this breaks down and makes a new low, you would almost have to be bullish. But day by day, because price is inherently emotional and unpredictable, you can be bullish and bearish every other day. Today, because you're trending under yesterday's low, I guess we could argue that there's more weakness in the dollar than strength today. But because you're still trading above the weekly open, those bears are not doing very good. So today's weaker, but the close will be what's important. But yeah, being in the middle of the range like this makes it difficult for assessing daily directional biases. There are a lot of YouTube videos out there that try to teach people how to derive a daily bias. Some people do it differently. Some people do it as simply as, I will be bearish if it's down on the day, just depending on the color of the daily candle going into the New York session. If it's red, I will stay looking for shorts. If it's green, I will stay looking for longs. And yeah, it doesn't really, you can use whatever techniques help you. Whatever techniques you tend to like, the ones you like, where you find success, do it that way and put the risk on and see what happens. Just make sure you lose small. That is literally the holy grail when it comes to trading. Lose small. Expect to lose every single trade. Never expect to win. As long as you expect to lose and you know every time you put risk in the market you're going to lose, then you lose small, right? Approach it like that. Then throw in all of your random technical stuff and your macro stuff and whatever you've learned throughout your time. As long as when you lose small, you will do fine long term. I promise. Just stay losing small, because you will get lucky. You will get lucky. It will happen. There will be a week or 2 weeks where the market just literally moves in your favor perfectly in a good way, that winning trade literally wipes out 6 weeks of losses. But if you have big losses, the small winners won't help. Just switch that around. It's not that easy, I get it. If it was, everybody would make money. But it is the golden rule. Lose small. Bitcoin isn't doing what I want it to do. What did I lose? 30 bucks on the first trade, and I just closed this one out at break even. So at most, I lost 40 bucks today. Now tomorrow, if I hit a winning trade, 300 bucks. And just repeat the process day in, day out. And the math works out. The math works out. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. It's not about how good or I am about predicting, because I'm not. I suck at it. I thought for sure Bitcoin is going to roll over today. And once it failed at resistance there, it looked really good for a bit. A brief moment in time. Looked like it was going to head lower. Yeah, that's the stuff we can't figure out. People use so many different things to, like, you've got people probably buying Bitcoin because of the 4-hour 21 exponential. Like, if you look at that right now, you know what I mean? Some people are looking at this as, hey, if it, it's trading above that, so I'm going to buy it. Like, people take trades for so many reasons. That's why everything works. It just don't work all the time. All right. I guess we're going to wrap it up there. SpaceX is right back to the open of the day. So that's not a really good sign. It looks like the buyers have come in here and picked this thing up. Be careful. This thing could spike hard later on today. So make sure your risk is mitigated. Make sure you have stops out. Stops are in place. I've got stops on mine. So if it pops up above whatever that price was that I discussed earlier, that's where we'll know we're wrong. We'll be out. This is the wrong one, though, but that price should be the same. SPCX USDT tracks the spot price, or they're relatively close. It's just the highest 8-hour swing high. That's where the stops are. All of them, not just mine. Anybody that's short in this area, their stops are here. So if it gets up there and fails, that's where we want to put the risk on. Again. 14 minutes left on this close. This thing is so close to closing as a bullish engulfing. You're going to potentially have a bullish engulfing candle here. That'll make people bullish moving on. It's got a long ways to drop to be a bearish engulfing, to keep people bearish. So it doesn't look great. Price discovery on the lows. Bitcoin is still not breaking out above 4-hour res. So there is a chance that this thing, but it is also so close to closing a bullish engulfing. We would have wanted to see it close as a bearish engulfing. Could it still close as bearish engulfing? it's not likely. It could get down there in one candle, obviously. But what's the most likely scenario? That it's going to close a doji. That's the most likely scenario. Not very helpful in direction anyway. But no selling equals no down move. And I think sellers are pretty exhausted. Been seeing a lot of this lately. No trend. Might be best to just buy it and hold it. All right. Yeah, BLX. Yeah, I got you. I understood as soon as I saw it. Bitcoin index. It's right there. All-time history index. It's a trading view chart. The BLX chart doesn't work anymore. The Brave New Coin Liquid Index, it doesn't work anymore. They turned it off. They turned it off on September the 1st of 2025. The API went offline. But thank God we have 2 trading view charts that's tracking it now. So we don't need the BLX anymore. Unfortunately, I put all of my 4-year market cycle data on the BLX, the Brave New Coin Liquid Index. So as soon as they canceled it, I was upset. Just got lines over there that are useless. Long term, it looks rough, but I mean, I can tell you one thing. The sellers have not eased up. The short sellers, your retail traders, they're still trying to short this thing lower. If we recover the 21, that'll make us back to being looking for longs, most likely. And then tomorrow it could fall. You know what I mean? That's what we're gonna have that all the time. All right, let's wrap it up. Like I said, all of the long-term stuff that I put on yesterday, literally all of that stuff's in the red today. But that's a long-term portfolio, so it's just going to be, we're just going to hold. I have put stops out on some of them to make sure that, you know, I'm not going to lose too much on one given trade, obviously. I'm not going to let one bad loser dictate the entire portfolio. But if the overall market starts to perform well, those things will turn around. The overall market is trying to maintain support even while you have dollar strength. So right now there is no correlation to the SPUs or the NASDAQ with the dollar, which is kind of a good sign. It might indicate that might be good for Bitcoin too, longer term. I would love to see Bitcoin strength with no matter what the dollar does. Like even if the dollar's rallying, if Bitcoin could rally, that would be phenomenal. Because it could indicate literally that the sellers are done. Once we get that, I think Bitcoin is a long-term buy and hold. But right now it's trying to build support, which is a good sign overall. That you're this far off the lows is a great sign. Now we need to see higher low supports built in, and then when we get higher highs, that's an even better sign. We haven't gotten higher highs yet, but we need that higher low. It's currently working on it. It's been working on it for 4 days. So far, you put in the low on that day, and Bitcoin has not made a lower low. That's kind of a good sign on the near term. So be careful if you're short Bitcoin. Make sure you got stops out. Same goes for if you're long. Make sure you've got stops. Stops are freaking important. Keep them up. It combines all the exchanges, data, Coinbase, Binance, Bitstamp, BTC. Yeah. Tuning late. Have you gone over Google for the day trade? No. I didn't even look at it. I forgot to look at it today. I did not. Let's see what it's doing. It's down today. What were we doing? I don't even remember what we were looking at. Crux. Yeah, I guess you're talking, this is just you, something you're looking at. I don't remember looking at anything here saying that I wanted to do anything with it. But I mean, long term, the chart is strong. You're printing a bearish engulfing 3-day right now, so that's not good. But if you reclaim that prior low, it won't be bad either. So if the buyers show back up today and you end up closing Google above 350, 342, then you're just in price discovery. So you need to trade it as a range bound asset. But right now it's moving down with some steam. Longer term, I mean, you're setting in a longer term range. It's a difficult one to read on the very near term, because you broke out this week and then got faded. So you could argue that on the very near term, it's a swing high failure pattern right through here. So yeah, I mean, I could have been interested in selling Google up to here based on this breakdown back below the prior week open, or the prior week's high. Once you lost that prior weekly high and you started to trade up, as long as you weren't taking out that high, I could have argued that that would be a decent short entry. Down here, I don't have anything. Now, this would be a profit-taking area because it's, like I said, that prior 3-day low. Bearish engulfing, that closes today. Today's close will be important for what people do moving on. Because if it closes back up in the range, your buyers are going to take over potentially. You close under this today, then sellers will be potentially looking for shorts based on a whole myriad of reasons. Based on losing the 200 on the 4-hour, based on being under the daily 21 here, right? There'll be a myriad of different reasons to look for trades on it, judging how today closes. In terms of the monthly range, you're under June's open, so targets could be as low as that. But you've got to deal with the weekly 21, so that could cause buying pressure as well. It did here. So far, it looks like the sellers might have it, but I would argue that this is going to be a buyable opportunity. And since the longer term looks good, I don't see any reason to be a heavy bear here. Our day trading strategies permit us to start looking for shorts once you start getting closures on the daily time frame under the 21, but it doesn't necessarily mean we have to be short, right? Yeah, this looks like a trap. So any pullbacks into the 50, as long as the sellers show up there, I would be willing to sell it. I couldn't do anything with it today. Today has already put in an upside move and then rejected. So the expansion for today happened at the high. Obviously, some sellers took profits on that move because that caused a bounce. Now you're seeing a lack of conviction for now. You might get the breakdown and continuation move lower today, but I wouldn't be involved with it down here. I wouldn't be buying or selling it based on what I see. It would be a wait till tomorrow type of thing. We liked Meta for the swing failure, but like I said, Nvidia, we liked it also for a swing failure, and Nvidia was extremely bullish yesterday to the point to where you're seeing upside continuation. Oh, no, you're not. You were earlier this morning. Yeah, midpoint check. So far it's holding. Looks like Nvidia is looking for a rally. Yeah, as long as you're above that 194, I'd be looking for the long. I would only be buying. This has to be looked at as a pullback only, and because it failed going lower at that breakout midpoint, it looks like the buyers are stepping up. 4-hour chart is still bearish. The structure's still bearish. But this big pop yesterday feels like exhaustion. It also happened at the 2026 yearly open, which is a level we know people buy at. As long as they're defending the yearly open, it would be hard to be bearish. That's pretty good defense. We don't know that it's all buying pressure. It could be a lot of sellers closing trades that also cause that, what looks like exhaustion. But I mean, potato, potato. It's the same thing. There's a unfilled gap just over the highs too. So that would be longer term bullish targets. I don't know why today it opened up pretty weak off the start, but I don't know. This down here would stop me from loving shorts on this. And yesterday's reaction, of course, higher low, bam, up, higher high. So if this is a higher low, weekly range is back up. It's finding resistance up here because of last week's high. That's what it is. Like, people are selling up there based on that. Midpoint of this. But they're probably going to be wrong. See, I like to approach things much simpler. This is range expansion. This was a closure. This candle's low was a pullback on this range expansion. So I could be a buyer as long as 197.23 holds. Even if this candle opens and pulls all the way back down to here. Now, if you break it, different story. But that's where my risk would go. I would eat a stop, of course, but that's where I would be looking to put risk on. With this yearly level down here and that reaction, that would make me also a little bit more bullish. Today's 21. I mean, this would be considered a retest of the 21, in my opinion. I would be a bull today on Nvidia. We were looking for Nvidia to fail here, and of course it didn't. So you can see how many people were short. That's what caused the big spike as they started peeling those stops off. Boom, 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 boom. It provided lift on price. Same thing here. That's where the liquidity was. That's where people were short. That's where they were mitigating risk from. Big volume above it. It's all these stops getting peeled off, causing that to rise. Yeah, the sellers were aggressive this morning, but they hit profit targets quickly, as you would only be able to target midpoint. Now they're bailing. Buyers stepping up. It's not that clear on Google. Not as clear on Google. If I would see some action like this, maybe I could sell Google, like what you did here. You do that right through here, right? But kept failing, then maybe I could put a short on and target down in here, but it's just not super clear. You're still up on the year, so. And these things just tend to do well anyway. I listened to a video with 42 Macro yesterday. He was talking to CNBC or somebody, and he said that his indicators, and he's a macro analyst and uses quantitative data and all that good stuff for his investors and his entire community. They're not long tech right now. But that doesn't mean that you should be bearish tech either. He's wrong sometimes, but so is everybody. I'm wrong sometimes. Everybody's wrong sometimes. He does well on a year-over-year basis, and that's where it matters. He also has a pretty massive community. Dale Darius, very intelligent, very well-spoken individual, seems to think that inflationary pressures are ahead. According to the data that he follows. I'm not talking about CPI inflation. I'm talking about the other inflation, the K-shaped economy inflation, the stuff that we feel at the grocery store, things like that. He thinks that'll probably be a headwind for risk going into the end of the year. Equal weighting S&Ps, things like that will probably do okay, though. Overall, he's not anticipating a recession or anything like that. And if we do see a violent correction this year, it would probably result in a V-shaped recovery. And as far as AI is going to do great in 2027. And there's going to be no U.S. recession based on just the AI spend, because it's so much of the U.S. GDP. There's no way you're going to see 2 quarters of negative GDP. So just for that reason alone, you won't see a recession this year. That's kind of bullish, if you ask me, on basically everything. Knowing that as long as they keep spending money the way they are, there's no way you can see a recession this year. That will be bullish for a lot of people. So that might, any pullback that you're seeing right now in any major company is probably just that, a pullback. Like, I'm not seeing any kind of selling aggression here. At best, I'm seeing profit taking as you hit 400 bucks. 400 bucks is a big figure number. It makes sense that you would see people scale out. Testing 350, holding as support. I mean, you could argue that this is a head and shoulders inverted. Shoulder, head, shoulder. Now, I don't know if this shoulder ends up making a higher low, but if it does, you will have an inverted head and shoulders with a neckline up there. That would be less bearish. So be careful. This stock looks very good. It's got a lot of bullish momentum. The bears can't sustain a large move. Short weak assets. Those are gonna be far better to short than strong assets. Always. Always. All right, you guys have a fantastic rest of your. Oh wait. Sorry, tried in screenshot. Yep, got it. Agreed. Thanks. Thank you, sir. All right, perfect. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure you guys trade safe. Make sure you trade smart. And as always, happy trading, everybody.